Have you ever stopped to think about who we naturally love? I mean, it's usually pretty easy to care for people who care right back at us, right?
Absolutely. It's almost instinctual, give and take.
But what if there's a call to, well, something deeper? Something that asks us to extend that same care, that same value, even to people who make it really difficult.
That's a challenging thought.
It is. And that's what we're diving into today, this powerful spiritual idea about embracing a kind of compassion that goes beyond the easy stuff.
And it's fascinating how this ancient idea still feels so relevant, so potent in our world right now. It really touches on something fundamental about us.
Exactly. So let's get right into it. There's a core teaching. It's from Luke chapter 6, verses 32 and 33. It asks this really direct question.
Right, know the one.
It says, if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners love those who love them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do good to those who are good to you, what credit is that to you?
It really draws a sharp line, doesn't it, between that, comfortable, reciprocal love
Yeah, the expected kind.
and this other kind. A higher calling, maybe. A love that stretches you.
Right. It's not saying that everyday love, loving our friends and family isn't important. Of course it is.
No, not at all.
But it's suggesting there's more, a bigger potential for what love can actually do.
Expanding the horizon of love, so to speak.
That's a good way to put it. And what really gets me is how this isn't just, stuck in an old book. We actually see people living this out today, sometimes in really surprising ways.
Okay, like what?
Well, think about this story from Canada back in 2025. There was a restaurant owner, and someone tried to rob the place.
Wow, okay. A scary situation. Your first thought is probably anger, fear, wanting justice.
Totally. That's the natural reaction.
Yeah.
But this owner, he did something completely different. He forgave the man who tried to rob him.
Forgave, yeah.
Yeah. And not only that, he offered the guy a job.
Get out, seriously, a job.
Seriously. He apparently said something like, I saw desperation in his eyes. What he needed more than punishment was a second chance.
Wow. That's incredible. I imagine that got some attention.
No, it did. National attention.
Yeah.
Because it was just so counterintuitive, right? Choosing compassion,
Yeah.
offering a future instead of just retribution.
It's that conscious choice, isn't it? Looking past the action to see the person, maybe the pain behind it. Choosing empathy when retaliation seems easier, almost justified.
Exactly.
Oh.
It really makes you pause.
Yeah.
And then there's another example, quite different, from Ukraine. This was in a community really torn apart by a local political conflict, deep divisions.
Yeah, those situations can be incredibly tense, years of bad blood sometimes.
Right. So this church decided to do something pretty bold. They organized a reconciliation dinner,
Okay.
and they specifically invited people from both sides, victims and, well, those seen as their adversaries, people who had genuinely hurt each other or whose groups had.
That sounds incredibly difficult. Just getting them in the same room must have been a challenge. The potential for hostility must have been huge.
You'd think so. But reports said it was deeply emotional. There were tears, yes, but also prayer, and eventually embraces, people actually
I-
reconciling.
Embraces
Right.
across those divides.
Apparently so. One person who was there said something that really stuck out. Forgiveness was the only way forward, just the only path.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it? The power of grace, even in the absolute thick of conflict. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, forgiveness can unlock a path to healing you wouldn't think possible.
It does. And these stories, the restaurant owner, the dinner, they really highlight some key ideas about this deeper love we're talking about.
Okay.
One thing is clear. This kind of love isn't just a nice feeling when things are good. It's tested. It's, like the scripture hints, proven in conflict.
Right. It shows its true colors when things are tough. When you're face to face with someone who's hurt you or someone you profoundly disagree with, that's when it really counts.
It demands something extra.
Yeah.
You have to consciously choose kindness or understanding when it feels like the last thing they deserve.
And that ties into another point, I think, that grace shines brightest when we give it to those who least expect it.
Yes, exactly. Like the guy trying to rob the place a job offer. That's probably the last thing he expected.
Or the people at that dinner in Ukraine. An embrace from someone on the other side, completely unexpected.
It's in that surprise, that unexpectedness, that grace has this incredible power to break through barriers.
And when you think about it, these actions kind of echo the example of Jesus Christ, don't they? Being kind when it wasn't deserved, patient when it wasn't returned.
Forgiving without even being asked.
Yeah,
It sets an incredibly high bar.
it really does.
So let's talk about the impact. Why does this actually matter so much? For the person receiving it, like the would-be robber, It can be life-changing, a real second chance, a path away from desperation.
Absolutely. Healing, transformation even.
And for the person giving that love, the owner, the church members, the people choosing to forgive, there's a transformation there too, isn't there? They become, well, like living proof of that grace.
Living testimonies, you could say.
Yeah.
And it makes you rethink what strength really is. We often think of strength as being tough, assertive, maybe retaliating.
Right, standing your ground.
But this perspective flips that. It suggests that loving the hard to love isn't weakness, it's spiritual strength.
That really resonates.
Yeah.
Because it is hard. It takes immense inner fortitude, maybe, to go against those natural instincts, self-protection, anger, wanting payback.
Or just wanting to withdraw, to cut those difficult people off.
Yeah, to actively choose compassion or forgiveness instead. That's a different kind of power altogether. A quiet strength.
It really is. And it highlights what you might call the sort of upside-down nature of God's love. It often runs completely counter to our normal human logic, our usual responses.
It challenges our expectations of how things should work. Love for enemies, goodness to those who are not good to you. It's radical.
It extends beyond our comfort zones, beyond the people who are easy to like. Maybe it's most powerful when it reaches those on the edges, those who challenge us the most.
So wrapping this up, we keep coming back to this core idea. The incredible, truly transformative power of choosing to extend love and grace, especially when it's hard, to those who are difficult to love.
And that really brings it home to each of us listening, doesn't it? It invites a very personal question for you.
Who is God maybe calling you to love today? Not because it feels good or easy, but simply because. Well, because it's the right thing, because it reflects that deeper compassion.
Just take a moment with that. Who comes to mind in your own life, your own world?
And, this isn't about pretending harm doesn't happen or just rolling over.
No, absolutely not.
Right.
It's not about ignoring wrongdoing.
It's about the response. Choosing a response rooted in that deeper wellspring of grace and empathy, even when every fiber of your being might be screaming something else.
It's a conscious, often difficult choice.
But making that choice, embracing this challenge, it really does hold the potential for huge positive change. Change in the people we interact with, definitely, but also profound change within ourselves.
Yeah.
And maybe ripple effects in the wider world, too.
It's a journey, for sure, not a destination you arrive at easily.
Definitely a journey. And it often starts just by asking that question, who am I called to love today?